Okay. Etro Oda, first and foremost, man, I gotta go ahead and give props here. I did not see that plot twist that was coming. Like the one with Gunkko and Brooke. I did not see that coming. Holy. So, because like last chapter I was looking at it, this is 11:49 by the way. Last time I was looking at like how they're kind of interacting, and I was like, is Oda trying to say that they ran into each other at some point? What is Oda cooking here? And sure enough, in this chapter, we get the answer. And like that's one of the things that like I do enjoy when it comes to manga is that we don't always get the answers in the chapter. And it's one of those things like chapters like this remind me of the fact that you have to read everything a volume at a time because when you read it week by week, before you jump the gun and say, I wish more was explained, you always give the author a chance to explain it. And sure enough, I wanted more. And that's what we got here. So basically, Gunko and Brooke met when she was a little girl. And she's starting to get memories regarding that past interaction. And so I'm kind of wondering, because like we've gone through and like we've seen all the Straw Hats, and we have seen Brook get his moment, like especially on Thriller Bark. But I am curious to see whether or not this arc here ends up paying off something for Brook too. So with that being said, we'll touch on the whole parent and child angle because that's a huge thing. And I did like the Oda touched on that and really made that an anchor for this chapter. But let's just go ahead and back up. So like we pick up and we have the Straw Hats, so all restrained, and you got Gaban, who was able to do that serious damage, and Usopp asked the biggest, most important question. He's like, how in the world were you able to damage somebody like Sommers? That makes absolutely no sense. Tell me more about what happened here. And what we see is that, and it's like, God damn. Basically, Gaban is like, man, I'm rusty. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, if that's you rusty, what the hell were you like in your prime? Like, we've always known that like people from Roger's era were just built on a different level. Like Garp is a reflection of that. Like Garp is like 900 years old, and Garp was going high difficulty with Alkuji, and Alkuji was a former admiral. So it's like you look at that, and it's like in his prime, Gaban would have been something absolutely nasty. Like we already knew it, but like moments like this, where you just see a further power gap between Luffy and his crew and the other monsters that are out there. It just makes you stop and think for a second. Had they run into the wrong person at any point in the Grand Line, they would have been washed. Period. And like we knew that just going all the way back to Sayabodi, but moments like this really drive that home. Now, I do like how like the battle immediately intensifies because Gaban knows that, okay, I didn't get the job done. So he swings the axe around and he immediately pivots, and that's where Sommers is able to block his attack. Sommers then asks Gaban, what are you doing here in Elbaph? But Gaban says, I'm not going to bore you with the answer. And as soon as I hear that, my immediate thoughts going, okay, he's trying to keep it a secret about his child, which is smart. And the reason I say it's smart is look at what the world government did to Roger's kid. So it just makes sense. It really makes sense. You don't want to put a target on your kid's back, especially one that, even though he's technically old, he's still in giant years a child. And so I like that Gaban kept his wits about him, obviously. And basically they end up getting right back into it, and he starts pressuring him. And that's where Nami and them are brought, or not Nami, but Nami tells everybody, they're like, hey, we met Gaban at the castle, and he was able to drive Luffy and Zoro back. And she says he's also calling his father. And so as that happens, that's where Chopper starts taking a lot of curiosity in Gaban. He's like, man, how's he able to not only dodge the attacks, but he's damaging him? Because they know that like they're supposed to have these immortal bodies. And so when Nico Robin tries to help out, Jinbei's like, no, like you cannot do that. He's a bad matchup for you. You really need to restrain yourself. And I did like seeing that because, again, That's just more showing of how balanced the Straw Hats are. They're able to save each other from their worst possible impulses. And so we see another exchange. And this time, Gaban is able to chop off the upper body of Sommers. And this time, as he chops off the upper body, that's what leads to Chopper wanting to leave from Saul's hair. And he wants to start going after him because he wants to figure out what it was that allowed him to damage Sommers. And I like this because that's just extra info, because that's a different physiology, and somebody like Chopper will be able to break a lot of that down. And it just adds further value to the Straw Hats and how each of them has something very unique that they bring. And so the next thing that we see is that basically Gaban takes off running, and he's going right after his child. Meanwhile, we shift back over and we see is Killingham and Ange are talking, and Killingham's like, look, like, you did enough. Like, the fact that you're able to set fire to the school, it let me know that you're going to do what we're saying, so I'll burn the library. Don't worry about it. And it's kind of heartbreaking because you see Ronja saying, like, you know, I blame myself for still being alive. It never should have came to this. And what I hate about this, and it's intentional, what I hate is that we're seeing, I wouldn't say the dreams of the children being crashed, but more so they're being forced to grow up. And, you know, as you get older, it's one of those things like when you see a child and you see that child's innocence, one of the worst feelings that you get is seeing that innocence leave their eyes. And Oda's using this right here to kind of show you that. Like, we saw it to a degree with Momonosuke back in Wano and as we got closer to Wano. But now just seeing it with these kids, it's like I potentially see where Oda's taking this. And I'm not sure if I like it. Like, the writing is good. Don't get me wrong. The writing is good. And the fact that he's getting such a visceral reaction from me as a sign that the writing is good, because it means that I am getting attached to these characters that we have not been around for too long. And speaking around characters that we've been around too long, Nico Robin, it really hurt just to see as she's watching the library lit on fire. And it's kind of cruel when you think about it, because she just got an opportunity to see the last vestiges of her homeland, and everything's burning, all that information, everything that they worked for. And you know, it does make you wonder, like, what could have happened if they would have got to Elbaph sooner? You know, how much of that information could she have retained? And it's kind of, I get the message what Oda's saying, potentially. If all this stuff is burned up, Oda's basically saying that, like, it's important to hold on to the past and learn from the past, but at the same time, you can't be anchored down to the past. And with oral history, that is a thing. And so you would have to think that there are still people that read all those documents that know it well enough to pass on that information. And so that's going to be curious to see how Oda handles that. Now, we shift over and we see Gaban getting super pissed off. And the kids are like, oh, it's Mr. Ya. And as soon as that happens, I'm like, no, wait a second. And sure enough, the next panel shows as Gaban's like, do not speak, colon. And I'm like, okay, he was trying to protect his son. And sure enough, that's what happened. Colon is like, oh my God, daddy's here. He's going to save everybody. And as soon as he says that, it immediately flips the script, because at first he had the element of surprise. He had the element of surprise. He does not have that now. And so Gaban was getting ready to try to put out the fire. And he says, like, give me 1 second. And he's like, you're a big, strong boy. And it's because Gunkko has her blade at his throat. And it looks like he was going to try to put out the flames. However, this is where the heartbreak happens. This man has to drop his sword. Well, not his sword, but his axe. He has to drop his axe because he gets the vision of the sword going through his son's neck. And that is so painful that it's like, okay, like, we know exactly how it is. He was able to see that. But This is like one of the downsides to seeing that observation hockey on full display, because it just shows like in life there are moments where you have a chance to make a decision that will forever either haunt you or one that you'll be forever grateful for. And for somebody like Gaban, you have to believe, even though this was a gut wrenching of a decision, he would do it 10 times out of 10. And like that flashback where he's thinking about meeting his son for the first time, how Ripley was able to give birth to his child, and how this is my lifelong treasure. It makes sense. It really makes sense. And like, it's one of those things where I didn't dislike Gunkko. I hate her now. I hate her now, and I hate that Oda, one thing that he was able to accomplish is just as quick as you begin to feel hate for her, when you get that flashback memory where she's thinking about Brook, all of a sudden you get renewed curiosity in her. But that's when Emu begins to start speaking, and it looks as if Emu ended up possessing her body. And it's because Emu's like, hey, I need you guys to hurry up with these giants, because the Holy Land is on fire right now. And that's where the chapter ends off. And like, I'm wondering now. I'm really wondering, because how is Oda going to handle this? Because like, I thought Gunko's connection was going to be to Luffy. Now the connection was with Brook. So where does this go? Where does this go? That's what I really want to know. That's what I really want to know. Like, obviously Sommers is still alive because the immortality is there, but just the fact that they're able to damage and Gaban is seemingly out to fight, whatever Chopper figures out is going to be absolutely key. So my chapter question to you guys is, if you guys were in the, I think I know the answer some of you guys will say, but if you were in the position of Gaban and you had to choose between your child, or since if you guys don't have kids, like if you had to choose between a parent or a sibling and preserving the history, which one would you choose? But so always, guys, like they had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.